Hey everybody! Welcome to another episode of We Run This, the podcast made for every runner. This week, Nick and I talked to Will Gadd, a Canadian National Sport Climbing Championship winner and a 3-time X Games winner. Will stopped by to talk to us about his new documentary, The Last Ascent, which follows his return to Mount Kilimanjaro. He also talked to us about his motivation for venturing places he's never been, his early obsession with mountain running, and how anyone can overcome mental hurdles. Before we start the show, please remember to follow Nick and I on social media. On Twitter, he's at It's Nick Domingo, and I'm at Chris Illuminati. Or follow us both on Instagram at WeRunThis_pod. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and if you could, leave us a kind review on iTunes. And now, here's Nick and I talking to the inspirational Will Gadd. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of We Run This. I'm Chris Illuminati. With me, as always, is Nick Domingo, and we have a very special guest today, Will Gadd. Will, how you doing, man?
Hey, great to be on here with you. Thanks, Chris.
Let's start off with first. I'm upset. Behind you, you are on a mountain. I was hoping you were literally going to zoom us from a mountain. So is that does anyone else ask that request or no?
You know, I've done that. I've taken calls while I've been like paragliding and stuff, and it gives you instant credibility. But no, that's just like a background. I'm in my home in Canmore, Alberta, the Canadian Rockies. You know, I could take you on a tour of the yard later or something if you want. But I'm at a desk. You know, don't tell anybody. But
so let me ask this. I guess the first question would be, with all of the, I mean, it hasn't been as bad in Canada as it's been in the U.S. with all of the quarantining and the COVID thing. Have you been getting out less? Like, how has that changed what you do?
I think when it first started, things were pretty locked down here too. Fortunately, I live in a place where I can still get outside and do stuff. And, you know, I built a climbing wall in my backyard to deal with it. Like, all the gyms closed down. So, but overall, where I live, I was really fortunate. I have instant access to trails, things like that. I stopped doing my higher risk sports just because I didn't want to add to the problem. We didn't know what was going to happen. You know, if emergency rooms are overrun, I didn't really want to be the guy there going, yeah, I hurt myself, you know, paragliding today. Really sorry, you can't have the ventilator. I did not think that would be cool. So definitely backed it way down. But, you know, overall, people here seem to be sorting it out. And I'm really thankful that the outdoors is a place of relative refuge so far from COVID. So people are getting outdoors here like in epic quantities. And it's been good. Yeah, it's, you know, hopefully things stay at a functional level.
You know,
that's awesome.
There.
Well, I'm actually in Canada with you, so I feel safe. I'm across the border as well. I'm up here in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. So I'm like you. I feel like, you know, things are pretty normal up here, escaping the madness of the United States that has been going on for the past 7 months.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that's, I mean, Canada's done, you know, okay. It could be better, but I'm glad things are reasonably normal there. Where are you, Chris?
I'm in New Jersey. So I'm in nothing like Canada. I'm the farthest. Actually, Nick's lying. He just put up pictures of hockey players behind him. He's really not.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, what's the most Canadian thing I can do? Oh, just hockey. Hockey everywhere. Make it look like I'm in Canada. I've been actually locked in my basement since February. That's actually what I do.
Well, actually, we should explain to Will, the reason Nick is in Canada is because his girlfriend got deported. She's from Canada.
Ooh, you actually misspoke. My fiance now.
Oh, that's right. And he just got engaged.
Yeah. So yes, my now fiance. Thank you. My now fiance got booted from the States to come back here. So I had to come up and quarantine for the whole 14 days, as you probably are familiar with. And, you know, now kind of bouncing around and trying to get back into some activity, as Chris and I have talked about, trying to run, trying to bike, and trying to embrace the fact that, like I said, you don't freak out every time someone coughs around you like you do in the States.
Mm.
Yeah, well, and there's more, you've got kind of unlimited room to roam there in Saskatoon. You have a vast area at your disposal, don't you? It's not like it's overpopulated there.
Exactly. It's very different from being in Seattle, where we are actually from. So it's nice. It's a nice break.
Yeah, well, welcome to Canada, and it's it's different, but I'm glad you're adapting, and we'll teach you to say A, and like get some studded winter snow tires. It'll all be good.
Exactly.
Will,
go ahead.
You go first. No, you go first. Questions.
I was wondering, Will, you mentioned some of the other activities you do outside of the climbing, and I'm so intrigued to know what those would be. I mean, you talked about kind of hang gliding or paragliding. What when you're not climbing are you typically doing to get some activity? And kind of second part to that is, what got you going into some of those activities?
Well, if I'm always, doing something every day. That's kind of the goal, is to do something, and it doesn't have to be rad. I used to travel a lot. I'm traveling less, but it's like you get off the plane or whatever, you're tired. It's like you hit the hotel gym. You just do something every day. That's really, really important to me. And it doesn't have to be rad. It can be like just going for a walk, but doing something and moving and trying to maintain some kind of connection to being some version of an athlete is super critical to me. So I do that every day. And because I live in a mountain town, I have more options. I get to go mountain biking. Yesterday I was kayaking, and then I do a tremendous amount of rock climbing in the summer, and then a lot of ice climbing in the winter, and still play hockey, informally. There's a rink not too far from my house, so I do that some in the winter as well. And I grew up playing team sports, but just basically making sure that I try to move every day is super critical to me. That's yeah. I get surly if I don't do that.
Nice.
You mentioned that you go to the gym. Do you train specifically for the activities that you do outside the gym? Like, how do you train for climbing a mountain? Like, is that a lot of ab work? Is that, what goes into that?
I think abs are probably relatively unnecessary for
climbing. I mean, but I would think you don't need core strength. You don't need core. I thought core was everything. Everyone always says core is everything.
I know. I agree with you, Chris. Everyone's core, right?
Yeah.
Core, yeah. I mean, core is an interesting thing. We have long talks about that, but mostly, like, I was kayaking yesterday for 2 hours on a river, sitting in a kayak. So my core and my trunk and everything stays pretty strong. I actually go to the gym mainly at this point, not to get stronger, but just to maintain, especially in the off season. I've got to maintain my mobility. So I'm doing a lot of mobility stuff. And then I'm also doing a lot of there's like 5 or 6 different exercises I do in the gym. And if I don't do them, I end up either getting hurt or less functional. So that's what I'm doing in the gym. And they're really basic old school stuff. I deadlift, I squat, I do pull-ups, and then I do front levers. I'm more interested in body tension, the ability to keep my body under control, than I am straight core stuff that we might think of traditionally. And then I'll throw in whatever's not working right on top of that. So yeah, I mean, but the best training for any sport is to do that sport. If you want to run, you got to run. You can't sit there and do like ab crunches. It's going to do nothing for you. You need to go run. So to climb, you need to climb.
Well, along those same lines, Chris and I have often talked about, the motivation behind it. How do you get yourself up for doing something? You said 2 hours, 2.5 hours on a kayak yesterday. I'm assuming that when you're, mountain climbing and then actually climbing, it takes some effort for you to say, I really want to do this today. So where do you find the motivation each day to just continue to move, like you mentioned? How do you stay active and get that push and kick in the ass to say, all right, I'm going to get out and do this for an hour or two?
I think I just, it's straight fear. I'm like, if I stop doing this, I'm going to start weighing like 300 pounds and smoking cigarettes. It's like, there's positive motivation, there's negative motivation in life. You got to use both. But some of it is just, I know that if I maintain that, I do better at maintaining it. And then if you like let it slip for a day or 2 days, and then it's 3 days, then it's harder. And then I want to do that. It's a lot easier to keep something rolling once it's in motion than to get it going again. So I really try to use that to stay after it. And just that basic commitment to doing something every day. Like you don't have to go in there and do reps like 300-pound deadlifts. It's like you go for a walk. All right, you won, man. The streak is going. So I look at it that way. And then I try to do things that are fun, like I like going kayaking. I was out there with a younger guy yesterday. We had a great time on the river, paddled a bunch. It was super fun and laughed our asses off. We just had a great day. So my exercise is generally pretty fun to get out and do. It's not like, oh man, I got to exercise. Like the prescription right now, I'm kind of getting off track. I think we're supposed to be talking about Kilimanjaro, but just like you're supposed to like strap yourself into like really tight spandex and run on a treadmill and lift weights. Like I would shoot myself in the fucking head if I had to do that forever. Right? Like that is not the way forward here. So for me, it's like do things that I really enjoy, and like I climbed a mountain with my kids the other day. We're out there for like 3 or 4 or 5. So it's actually like 6 hours because we're going kid speed, but like we climbed 1,000 meters, 3,000 feet together. And, they were super stoked. And that's what exercise is to me. It's like doing things that you enjoy because being physical is fun to me. It's good. I don't know about you guys, but I feel better when I do stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
I want to go back to the mental thing, but first I want to ask you a question that you kind of brought up. So you have kids. I also have kids. How do you deal with the, you've done all of these like daredevilish things your entire life, and then you have children, and then you have to let them do it, except the parent in you is kind of like, oh, Jesus, like, how do you climb a mountain while your kid is also climbing a mountain and not be like, oh, be careful. Oh, don't touch. Oh, don't. Like, how do you manage those two things?
Well, my kids are a lot like me, not surprisingly. And so they are going to want to do what I regard as cool stuff. Mm-hmm. And that often involves risk. They're not kids that are like just going to sit there and zone out all day on the screens, although they sure do that too. But it's like they want to do stuff that's rad. Mm-hmm. And they're like, they get fired up on that. So what I've tried to do is teach them how to manage risk at a kid level. And they're getting older now and can make more sophisticated decisions. But initially, like we'd be out there hiking and it would be like pretty simple terrain. And I'd be like, all right, what's going on here? And they'd be like, our classification system is pretty simple. They'd be like, oh, Dad, this is bumps and bruises terrain. Mm-hmm. Like there's no issues here. Nothing mm-hmm. bad's going to happen. You don't need to worry here, Dad. And they use that. And then we'll be like out in the mountains and maybe there's more of a drop off. Like if they pitched off the side of the trail, they could get messed up. And I'll let them sort of initiate it and look at it. And if they're not engaging with that and figuring out, then I'll ask them some questions like, what risk level are we at right now? And they'll be like, hospital, Dad. This is definite hospital terrain, and I'd be like, okay, so what are we going to do about it? And then we'll be in some hideous place like, New Jersey, where there's like cars everywhere and it's total chaos, man. And I'll be like, what happens if you run out into traffic? Like if you're not paying attention? And they'll say death. Mm-hmm. And it's not to scare them, but you got bumps and bruises, hospital, and death. And so they're managing that risk environment using that system. And the other day I've got this treehouse. It's like 10 feet off the ground and there's rocks below it and stuff. And there are a bunch of little kids out there and they were arguing about whether it would be bumps and bruises, hospital, or death if they fell out of the treehouse. And I was like, my job here is done.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's how I teach them to manage it. And that's the system we use. But I guess the bigger question you're asking is, as a parent, can you also take risks? Mm-hmm. Like, how does that work? Is that kind of what you're saying? Yeah.
But I also want it noted that climbing mountains with your kids is hospitalization, but coming to New Jersey is death. That's automatically death.
Yeah. You got cars, like I've seen that place, man. Things are sketchy there. So
you teach, all right, I'll tell you what, you teach my kids how to climb a mountain, and I'll teach your kids how to cross the street. And we'll be cool.
I mean, yeah. Seriously, I was like that kind of stuff. But I guess the point is that every environment has its hazards, and how you mitigate them. It's recognition and mitigation. What do we see? What are we gonna do about it? And so there are hazards out there that we all deal with every day, and how are we gonna deal with them? So teaching our kids so that we can't always watch our kids, right? I don't know how old your kids are, but they're gonna head off without you at some point. no matter how good of a parrot you are.
You know what? I don't know. Judging by COVID, they haven't left my side for like 9 months, so I don't know. It's like they're back in like preschool again. Like they're always around at all times. So I mean, yes, eventually they will have to leave, but it feels like they're always here.
Well, mine are like me. They've got a little bit of the ADD thing going on, and they just go. So my goal is, especially as they get older, like my daughter will be 16. I don't want her getting into a car with somebody that's been hammered. I want her to recognize that as a lethal situation and deal with it.
Right.
We want to like create skills in our kids going forward, I guess but yeah, I mean, figure it out. I don't know if that'll work for you or not, but that's the Bumps and Bruises Hospital, that get them to recognize that.
Yeah.
And then we'll have Jersey. That's the next level, Jersey.
Exactly. Well, speaking of risk, Will, I know you have a new documentary coming out, working with Red Bull, September 9th, The Last Ascent. It details your adventure to Kilimanjaro in 2014. And then you went back earlier this year and saw the change. And so just want to get a little bit of info on how that came to fruition and some of the things that you experienced while filming that and out on your adventure.
Yeah, no, thanks. We went in 2014 with this idea that Kilimanjaro was covered in ice and we were going to go there and climb it. And we had all these maps that showed all this ice. And then we got up on top and it was like, wait, where's all the ice? And it was kind of one of those moments you're like, wow, I've got a film crew here and I'm seeing mainly sand at this point. Like, this is an issue. So 2014 kind of clued us in that things were changing really rapidly on Kilimanjaro. And then I wanted to go back and see what had changed. Maybe it hadn't changed that much. Maybe the predictions were all wrong and everything was good. I wanted to go and look at it and also help a researcher who was doing climate research up there and had been for decades. So he needed some help getting different memory modules back into his systems and stuff. So I help him out and also learn from him. So we went back, and where we camped 6 years earlier was under about 30 feet, 10 meters of ice. And
oh, wow.
You see things like that, you're like, okay, this has changed really radically in only 5 or 6 years. And a big part of the story was trying to go and replicate the photos that my buddy Christian Pondella had shot and comparing what it looked like then versus now. And yeah, it was really, really different. Things changed really radically. For sure.
Man. How did you adapt, because you went back to climb it earlier this year, right? And so was it still there for you to climb? Like, were you still able to kind of do your thing, or were you like, man, this is like totally changed and screwed that we can't even do what we came to do here?
Well, yeah, I mean, one of the things I really wanted to do is climb this thing called the Messner route. And Messner is this uber, insanely accomplished mountaineer, probably the most famous mountain climber in the world. And he did a route there that was an ice route. And I have all these photos from the past 20 or 30 or 40 years showing this route. And we got there and it was gone. It was just not, I'm like, it's like, you show up to play a hockey game or whatever, and your hockey arena, your rink is gone. It kind of sucks. Like, you stole my rink. So yeah, we didn't get to do that. We wanted to climb on the ice on top. Unfortunately, there was still ice to climb on top. There's a lot less of it, but we reshot the photo. And you can take a look at it. It's just radically different. And we think of glaciers as lasting forever, but these things they're really not. They're disappearing very, very quickly.
A lot of times on the podcast, so the podcast is about like a fitness lifestyle, but it's mostly centering on running. And a lot of time when Nick and I talk about running, a lot of it is mental. So like your body can do these things, but mentally your head is just going, no. And a lot of times, sometimes when we go out, mostly me, Nick, not so much because he runs like a lunatic. But like sometimes when I get out there, like it's really my mind telling me, it's almost like I forget how to run or I forget how to do things. Have you ever found yourself facing like climbing a mountain and you just kind of look at it and you're like, I really forget what I'm doing right here? Or does that just like, does something kick in?
Well, and again, it's consistency. Like, I'm not running as much as I used to. I went way too big in my 20s and 30s on running. And
okay. So describe that. Way too big in what way?
Well, I got really stoked on mountain running. I was living in Boulder, Colorado in the States, and there's a huge mountain running community there. So I really like running. And I got a little obsessive about it and just started hanging out with this crew of runners in Boulder. And, they're like 130 pounds and they've been running since they were like in utero. And then there was me, and I'm not, it's like I'm heavy or something, but I just got too psyched for a bunch of years and didn't do the mobility work and other. I think it's a lot more known about how to be a long-term successful runner now than there was then. And I put a lot of wear and tear on my body running in a way that, now I did zero mobility work. I did zero strengthening of anything. I just ran like crazy. And I honestly, if I could still run like that today, I would. I'm running a little bit more now, but no, it's a gift. So I guess for me, I don't generally, if I'm running regularly, I feel really good running. Usually I'm like, this is great. I'm going places and you get back and you're like, I've earned this beer.
I'm sure mountain climbing, you earn a beer.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Exactly. You can have a keg after, climbing a mountain.
Yeah.
That's good, man. But there's it's interesting because some of your thinking is how do you get through that motivation to get out the door or whatever?
Yeah.
And regularity really counts. And then I'm not going to put in the endless plug, but my fridge has Red Bull in it, and you drink a Red Bull and you get stoked. And pretty much every day before I train, I drink and I buy the stuff. If Red Bull ever drops me, I'm going to be buying Red Bull because I drink it and I go out and do my thing. And I feel a little bit of caffeine and stoke it's helpful. I don't know about you guys, but it's a good thing.
Yeah,
so you could use tools.
We just talk about the mental part of things, and I feel like mentally running is way easier than going and staring at this giant mountain and going how the hell am I going to do this today? How did you know?
Yeah.
The first time you stared up at a mountain, how did you say to yourself, yeah, that's probably something I should climb?
Well, I didn't. My dad had me on the end of a rope and dragged me. I didn't have to say anything about it. It's like, son, we're gonna climb a mountain today. Buck up. And so I just went. And then as I got older, I decided that. Well, first I was I just wanted to hang out and ride my BMX bike. And then in high school I was involved in high school sports, so I kind of got out of the whole mountain scene for some years. And then I was still climbing some, but I was playing high school basketball and volleyball and these Canadian sports, and digging them. But I think again, it's regularity. If you say I'm going to go for a run today, and you go, and then you say I'm going to go for a long run today, it's a much smaller step to go from I'm going to a run to going for a long run than it is just if you built those steps where you do things that you say you're going to do, then it's easier. And if you're standing at the base of a mountain, you're like, I'm going to climb the mountain. You're not I've trained for that. I hike or run up the hill behind my house pretty much, 3 or 4 times a week. And I do that even when the weather's shitty and I don't want to go do it. It's I go and I do it. And if you train your mind to do it, then it becomes easier. And if you just the PlayStation's looking pretty good and I've got a case, a fridge full of beer, then that's going to become the norm. So you got to fight sloth. It's it is always trying to suck you down, and you have to fight it or it will.
So I've got to ask, because I'm looking at this picture of you behind you, we're talking about mountain climbing. I don't have a fear of heights, but if I stand on a bridge and I look over it, I get fucking freaked out and I think I'm going to die right here. I'll be the one guy that the platform underneath will fall and I'm going to die. Have you ever, and I don't know if this is too personal of a question, but have you ever been out on a mountain, just think kind of what Chris was alluding to, holy shit, one, what the hell am I doing? And two, I could die. I'm freaked out right now. I just want to get off this mountain, whether it's conditions, height, whatever.
Yeah. Well, I think first of all, what you're feeling in that situation is totally natural. And all the people who didn't feel that when they're in a high exposed place, they fell off and died and didn't have kids. Right. So you better have that reaction when you're in a dangerous place. If you're this is all good, buddy, I'm going to run around up here like a squirrel. It's not good. Those things are in us for a reason. They're really good tools. We're all here because one of our ancestors was scary edge. I'm going to stay away from it. Not ha ha ha. Ran
exactly.
So I think I absolutely feel that way. When I'm near a big edge, I'm like, okay, what, do I have room? Like I can't like just stand on an edge. I watch these videos of people, some of whom are now dead. So there is that going on, who are like standing on the edge of an office building, like, hey, like you're an idiot. Like clip into something, man. Like, or sit down, like, or, you can crawl to the edge and look over it. You don't need to like stand there in a sudden gust of wind and off you go, So no, I'm totally that way. I fear is like a really good tool, to alert you to danger and then recognize it and figure out how you're going to deal with it.
So that just brought up a really good question. Is there anything, it doesn't have to necessarily be about climbing, but is there anything that you look at that people do and you go, oh, you're fucking crazy, I would never do that? Like anything?
Well, there's a lot of stuff. Like there's these people, get this, they go to work and sit in a cubicle all day.
Oh yeah.
I love it. Hey, like what is up with that? Like bad life decisions. I'm obviously joking about that. Yeah. I'm really grateful for that. But there's a lot of things out there in the world that are pretty crazy. But sports wise, and I hope people who are in cubicles get out and get to move a bit every day. This is critical, and I'm grateful for the work they do, because ADD athletes like me, the world does not require me. It does require people who show up to work. So thank you. But I got into base jumping for a while, so jumping off of things with a parachute. And I looked at this, and it's awesome. It's a great drug. I haven't done crack, but I mean, if that's like the drug of choice or meth, I don't know what it is, but it's like it's a great drug. You do that and you're like, wow, that was really, really rad. But then the continuation of base jumping for me was like, the next jump I had to like stow the little thing that you have to pull out and throw. It's like, we'll put that away. And then the next one was like, we'll do a flip. And it just, that was not going to work out well for me and my personality type. And you want to be one of these super analytical, like A, B, C people to be a successful base jumper. And I am not that. So I quit.
Is there anything you're looking at, like, what's next? Like, what do you want to accomplish next?
Well, I want to keep doing what I'm doing now. I'm really enjoying it. I'm getting to share my sports with people all over the world. I'm getting to show people maybe how climate change looks. You look at the graph in the newspaper, and I don't know about you guys, but it's like, oh, it's 0.02 degrees. It's like, you show a picture, this is changing. I hope that has an impact on people. And I'm grateful to Red Bull for supporting it. Like, they have choices. There's skateboarders out there. I'm glad they've supported these projects, and my other sponsors as well. So I'm grateful to have that, and I'd like to continue using my sports to maybe have a small impact on how we look at the world. I'm not going to stand there up on a platform and preach to people, but I'd like to show people, and it's changed me. These trips where I've seen the ice in Greenland melting, and talk to the scientists that are working on that and help them with their projects. And the same on Kilimanjaro. It's changed how I look at the world. I don't have like fast answers. Do these 10 things and your life will be perfect and climate change will end. Like, I don't have that, but I'm wrestling with it and trying to do a better job and understand it. So lots of new projects, but apparently I need to come to New Jersey and learn some things there, and maybe
learn how to cross.
Well.
We'll get you crossing streets, and there are some mountains here. I mean,
Well,
we have some
Pine
mountains
Barrens
somewhere
in New Jersey.
Yes.
Have you ever been to the Pine Barrens?
I have. That's Well, normally the Pine Barrens is what you drive through to get to like all the beaches and stuff. So I've driven through the Pine Barrens, but I've never gone and explored. Do you ever do that? Do you ever just like hop out of your car and just go exploring crazy places?
Yeah, I dig that. Like if I'm driving along somewhere, if I'm doing a long drive, I always try and stop someplace kind of semi-random and go for a hike or something, or a run for like 20 or 30 minutes. Just that you have to do that. I've seen the coolest stuff out there, wherever you are in the world, you just stop someplace random and get out and move for a little bit. And it's so good. So yeah, I dig that. Like the Pine Barrens, I read about those things. That's one of the biggest chunks of wilderness left in the northeastern US. And
it's huge.
It's totally unknown.
It's huge. So, There's also a Jersey Devil. Yeah, good. There's also a Jersey Devil out there apparently that people are looking for. It's like our Bigfoot. He's like, I don't know. He was just like this legend that you used to hear about when you were a kid when you were driving through. So it was just kind of like, this thing that kind of, it was probably the thing that would scare kids to not go running through the Pine Barrens. Is probably what it was for. So, but I wanted to say that that's very ADD of you, that you would drive somewhere and then randomly hop out of your car and just start running in the middle. Because I too have ADD. I don't know. Nick,
right
Nick, do you have it? Yeah. Nick, do you have it?
I have a mild case of it.
A mild case of it. But that is very. I recognize my ADD brother-in who would jump out of a car and just start randomly doing shit, because I would kind of, I don't know if I get out of a car and run, but I find that cool. Like I would probably be driving somewhere, forget where I was driving, and then drive somewhere completely different, and then go, oh yeah, that's where I was going.
Or you just forget where your car is, like I was out running and details like where's my car, that stuff. Yeah. But I mean, that's a great way to experience the world and meet people, and every time I do it, I've never regretted stopping somewhere and running. And, you get out there and you meet like a rancher or something working on his fence. And he's like, what are you doing on my land, boy? It's like, then you have a conversation,
Right.
I just love that. It's really cool.
That's awesome. Well, I mean, Chris, I don't know about you. I mean, Will, like what you're doing is so dope. I mean, not only like what you do for a living, not being in a cubicle 9 to 5, and I know you joke about it, but I mean, I know I can't speak for Chris, but I absolutely envy the fact that you get out and you're not in front of a computer every day. And I love what you're doing for the climate change and the research behind that. And keep kicking ass in what you're doing, man, because it's clearly working for you. You've got 2 guys over here. I think they're pretty jealous of what you do every day.
Yeah.
Oh man, well, hey, give me a shout if you're ever out. If you ever come west to Alberta, give a shout. And if you ever come really west to Alberta, what's the quarantine thing? Give a shout. I love. Let's go for a run. And I've got beer in the fridge. We'll figure it out. So just great talking with you guys. And keep running, stay motivated, stay psyched. It's been a lot of fun.
And the invite goes the same. If you ever come to New Jersey, first I'll talk you out of it. But then you can come, hang, and we'll go to the Pine Barrens, and then we'll go dodge some like trucks like we're Frogger or something.
No, don't do that.
I'm gonna go do that right now. Actually, so I run on the streets. So I literally do that every day. Like where I run, I'm running on the streets, and people pay zero attention to people running on the street. So
you asked me what I thought was crazy. That's crazy, dude. Be careful with that.
And the other day, like I'm not gonna lie. The other day, a tractor trailer came really close to taking me out. Like really, they don't. I think a lot of times, and Nick and I have talked about this before. Like one of the dangerous things that I see people do is years ago when you ride a bike, you're supposed to ride with traffic. But the people that run with traffic, like no, don't do that.
No.
Run against, because I see people like. I can see the cars coming, and I can see that they're not paying attention, and I get the hell out of the way because I know they're doing.
No, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
No, I do the same thing because you're especially with people on cell phones. Somebody's checking a text, and that's all it takes. So keep running. That's an awesome mitigation strategy. I'm gonna talk to my kids about that.
Yeah, tell them that. Tell them that's threat level like death. If they're not, tell them run. Yeah.
Yes.
So.
And it's key, man. It's totally true. I do the same thing, but I've never thought about that because I live in a place where there's not much traffic, but I will get on that.
Right. So. Tell your kids that the dude from New Jersey said run towards traffic.
Yeah, that is powerful advice. It's going into the book.
well, Will, we want to say thanks for hopping on with us. Congratulations, and good luck with the movie. And hopefully, eventually, when the world opens up again, you can get out there and actually meet people and show them the movie instead of like relying on all of us.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but we'll do our best now, man. And just final bit of advice here. Studded snow tires, Nick. It's pretty key for the winter there in Saskatoon. You're going to need studded snow tires. And trust me, the winter will end. It'll seem like it never, ever is going to end, but it'll get better. And this woman must be special because that's a tough move. Joking aside, but best of luck with it.
No, she ran away and he went and chased her. Like
exactly.
Go back to Canada.
You would rather choose the never-ending winter than me in Seattle. So I'm just like, leave me alone. Like the border is shut down. How the hell did you cross this thing? I'm trying to get away from you. So
that's true love right there, man. That's true love. Good luck.
Exactly.
Will, thanks, man. It was great talking to you.
Again, Will. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much, man. Good luck with everything, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
So we run this to a close. Nick and I want to thank everybody for listening. If you love the podcast, please share it with friends or leave a review on iTunes. And remember to follow Nick and I on social media. He's at It's Nick Domingo, and I'm at Chris Illuminati on Twitter, or follow us both on Instagram at WeRunThis_pod. Until next time, see everybody out there.